Joining us now, Democratic Congresswoman Kathleen Rice of New York, a member of the Homeland Security Committee. Congresswoman, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Wolf.
So CNN is now reporting that the Pentagon plans to lay out within less than a year lay out immediately within less than a year to destroy, completely defeat ISIS. Is that realistic?
Well, let's see. We have to see what is in the plan. I think that to put a time limit on something as difficult as this is probably not wise, but clearly we have to do something. But I think that what I hope it includes is what President Obama felt was so important, and I totally supported, which is building relationships with all of the Muslim countries in the area, our partners there, so that it's not a go-it-alone philosophy of just us going in with none of our partners in the region with us.
The White House is calling for increased defense spending now. You just heard another $50+ billion. You think that's necessary for U.S. security?
We'll see. The devil is going to be in the details. But I will tell you, Wolf, one thing that concerns me about this is obviously he has to pay for that. And what we've heard so far is that he's going to do that by cutting aid that, as was just played, that now Secretary Mattis said is absolutely essential to maintaining safe areas across the world. And that is money that goes to the State Department that we use to aid countries to help keep terrorism out of countries all across the world. If you're going to, you can't do, it's not an either-or situation. There is a lot of aid that goes to these countries that actually obviates the need for us to increase military spending. But again, the devil is going to be in the details, so I'm looking forward to seeing what the plan actually is. Yeah,
they say they want to cut foreign aid. I'm looking at the foreign aid that's distributed right now by the State Department, by the U.S. government. The largest economic and military aid recipient is Afghanistan with almost $5 billion a year. Then Israel, all military assistance, $3.1 billion. Egypt, combination economic and military, 1.5 billion. Iraq, another billion. Jordan, Pakistan, Kenya. You think that those kinds of aid recipients, that kind of aid should be reduced?
No, I think that those are critical investments that we have to maintain, Wolf. There's no question about it. First of all, you're not going to be able to pay for the kind of increase that President Trump is looking for. There just isn't enough money in the foreign aid coffers. There just isn't. He doesn't want to touch the entitlement programs because that was a campaign promise that he made, so he's trying to look for it elsewhere, and there just isn't enough money elsewhere. But I also hope that people like Secretary Mattis will stay true to his word of a couple of years ago and explain to the president that it really is very short-sighted to cut foreign aid to these essential countries that we need to help in the fight against ISIS.
It's not just foreign aid. He wants to cut a lot of the spending of the Environmental Protection Agency. That's another big target for reduced spending. You with him on that?
No, absolutely not. But, you know, that I'm not surprised. I mean, that was something that he talked about during the campaign. He's a climate change denier. I mean, there's no question that he was going to go after the EPA. So I'm not surprised about that.
You're a former federal prosecutor, Congresswoman. Amid reports that the White House reached out to the chairs of the Senate and House Intelligence Committees, do you think your colleague, the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, can lead a fair bipartisan investigation?
There's no question that what he did was completely inappropriate. And this is exactly why the Trump administration needs to just bite the bullet and support an independent commission. That's what they need to do here. You can't have an administration leaning on chairmen of relevant committees of jurisdiction that are supposed to be looking into this in order to get their help in a PR campaign. I mean, this is just ridiculous that we're even in this position. As a prosecutor, you would never comment on an ongoing investigation. It would be totally inappropriate, and it would affect the legitimacy of the ultimate outcome as well. So the answer to, in my mind, is just take it away from Congress, take it away from the president, and set up an independent commission, just like we did after 9/11. And so the American people can have faith that the conclusions that they came to were not driven by politics.
The president's national security advisor, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, said the use of the phrase radical Islamic terrorism doesn't help the U.S. in working with its allies to defeat terrorist groups. Clearly, he was breaking from the president's view on that phrase. Is that encouraging to you? Where do you stand?
I hope he does that more. My hope is that when you have people like him and like Mattis and Tillerson, people who get the international scene and what is going on in a way that this president, quite frankly, just doesn't, I hope that he actually listens to them. He's put them in place. Hopefully he's going to listen to them because they have decades and decades of experience. And, hopefully he's going to listen to what they have to say.
Congresswoman Rice, there's more for us to discuss, including the latest developments involving Jewish community centers, Jewish schools, threats today, desecration of another Jewish cemetery outside Philadelphia. I want to get your thoughts. You're a member of the Homeland Security Committee. What's going on this front? We'll be right back. Phoned in today to Jewish community centers, Jewish day schools across 11 states, forcing toddlers to be evacuated in their cribs. The latest threats follow dozens made in recent weeks and follow the weekend vandalism at another Jewish cemetery, this one outside Philadelphia, the second such incident recently. The White House is calling the actions cowardly and hateful. We're back with Democratic Congresswoman Kathleen Rice of New York, a member of the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, your district, it's out on Long Island, I know, has seen threats to Jewish community centers there. You're on the Homeland Security Committee. I assume you've been briefed. Has anyone been arrested? Do you know who's behind these threats?
There is no evidence yet as to who is behind this. It may be one individual. They are going down that path to see if that is possible. But this is just so disturbing, Wolf. I represent one of the largest Jewish communities in this country. And one of these threats came into to my district. So a couple of things have to happen. We have to support law enforcement and their attempt to do a robust investigation to try to find out who or what group or individual or individuals are behind this. But we also need to speak out and condemn this kind of bigotry and this kind of hatred in the strongest terms whatsoever.
These threats seem to be coming in waves. There was at least another 11, maybe 15 today, including a Jewish day school outside of Washington, D.C., one in suburban Maryland, one in northern Virginia. Does it appear to be some coordinated assault? And I just want to reiterate, as far as I know, no one has yet been arrested in any of these threats, and there have been dozens and dozens over these past few weeks.
No, there are no arrests yet, but there's no question that law enforcement all across the country is working on this. It's priority number one. There's no question about that. But look, what we need to do is people in positions like mine, we need to come out and strongly condemn this kind of bigotry and this kind of hatred. And I got to tell you, I think that we need our top leaders, and by that I mean the president, to come out immediately and condemn this kind of activity, this kind of criminal behavior that is so disturbing and is causing such a terrible fear and unrest in Jewish communities all across this country. And I hope that President Trump is more forceful in his condemnation of this behavior. Because
we did see the vice president, he went to that cemetery, that Jewish cemetery outside in Missouri, and he personally got involved in helping to clean it up. Those tombstones were overthrown, and he spoke out very passionately in Missouri. And now we're seeing a similar desecration of a Jewish cemetery outside of Philadelphia. What specifically would you like to see the president, as opposed to the vice president, do?
I'd like to see him, maybe he could have done what the vice president did. I mean, that's the kind of leadership that we need, Wolf, when we see this kind of bigotry and this hatred being played out in communities all across this country and instilling such a level of fear in people's lives that it's just unnecessary. So it would be nice if he were to go out and actually show, not just through his words, but through his actions, like the vice president did, how strongly he feels about this kind of intimidation and bigotry, and back it up with some actions.
Congresswoman Kathleen Rice of New York, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
Coming up, we have new details about the plot to kill the half-brother of the North Korean leader.